Alright guys, welcome back to Game and Compute. Today I'm going to talk about some really helpful sites on YouTube, channels that you might have an interest in, especially if you have a lot of interest in, side hustles, making extra cash on the side, extra funds. So one person that I love to follow that I've likely mentioned before, other than Neil Patel, I really like Biaheza. His name is spelled Biaheza, and that's the name of his channel. I believe that's his last name. And he's really great. I mean, he's a young guy. So the way I would describe him, he started young. I believe he started when he was still a minor, and he does a lot of different types of methods to create money, and he actually lives off of this income. This is his full-time work. And so Biaheza, the great thing about him is that his steps and strategies are so easy to follow. He has different strategies, from investing strategies using apps such as Robinhood or drop shipping. That's probably his most popular category of content. Drop shipping of different types of products. Instagram marketing, Facebook marketing. So I just want to talk about some of those that he mentioned, because I find them really important. They're really helpful. They're really, overall, they're just, it's a good place to get started if you haven't started yet, and it's a good way to build a knowledge base. And the thing that I like about him is that he's very action oriented. And that's one thing that I would say that I definitely recommend. It's something I definitely notice becomes a big barrier for a lot of people, is that, there's some anxiety there a lot of times about making the move that you need to actually make to actually get the money. A lot of times, myself included, we fall into this trap of putting in all this effort and work into learning. I need to learn. I need to keep on researching for marketing information and trends. I need to keep on looking. I need to keep on searching for a winning product. I need to keep on, editing my Instagram page or my YouTube channel videos. I need to keep on editing, and yes, as they say, content is king. And yes, you want good quality content, you want good quality knowledge, you want to be educated on what you're doing, but there's a certain point where it's time to just jump right in, even if it's dip the toe in the water, or just cannonball straight up in there. It's like, if you kind of already know how to swim, you might as well just dive in and see kind of what's gonna happen, and you can start small and build from there, right? So one strategy, say for example, for someone who uses Instagram, he mentions different strategies and steps, such as, starting a channel, or starting an Instagram page. And while you start that page, there's a follow method. He usually recommends trying to get up to 1,000 followers, and then, making this into a theme page. And what a theme page does is you basically are able to get money to your own self by kind of promoting other people's content. And so you can get paid this way. And check out his YouTube videos to find out more on that. in detail. He has full on episodes that, you know, or series playlists of actual like step by step kind of campaigns or projects that he makes. And that's kind of how I like to look at things too, is make a project out of it. You know, even if it's like for 3 days you're gonna try something, for 1 week you're gonna try something. I mean, just try something, right? So yeah, he mentions those Instagram strategies, the follow for follow. When it comes to YouTube, you know, his channel, I believe he was mentioning that the drop shipping video that he posted was one of the most, what would you call it? Like one of the most famous or popular videos, and possibly because he was pretty young too. I may be wrong, but I think he was nearly 15 or so at the age when he started, you know, making viral videos. And you know, his site is definitely monetized on YouTube. And if you check out the interview that he did with, I can never remember if this guy's name is Graham Stephan. I think Graham Stephan. Graham Stephan on the Iced Coffee Hour. He has a whole interview about his portfolio, about Biaheza's portfolio, and they look into some of his Robinhood accounts, what he makes on Shopify with drop shipping, different things like this. So the drop shipping strategies that Biaheza usually tends to use, it seems to go between Facebook and Instagram. That tends to be where he seems to market his material, and he usually builds Shopify stores. So he usually shows himself, you know, even starting from scratch. He's had campaigns where he started from, you know, $0 and started with getting, you know, either like right now he's working on a project where he's starting from scratch with side hustles. I know he mentioned like Christmas light, you know, like a Christmas light side hustle business, you know, seeing things around you that, you know, you can fill in some gaps and just make money on the side, doing a service that people actually want, that they don't want to do, that you know how to do, that doesn't cost you a lot out of pocket, that's not risky. Because that's the problem with a lot of things. I'm not saying it's a problem with Biaheza, but it's a problem in general with a lot of side hustles, is that when you're starting, if it's not like a traditional 9 to 5 work, you know, site that you're working at, usually what happens is when you're working, you know, like if you get hired at a 9 to 5 work site, you know, you're already going to get paid regardless. You know, if you work 9 to 5, you're going to get paid for the 8 hours of work that you did. If it's that type of job where you just get paid hourly, right? So you're likely not going to make more if there's no bonuses or commission in the job. Let's just say there's no, let's just say it's just a traditional, I don't know, say you're working at Vaughn's as a cashier or something, you know, you're basically going to be, you know, maybe you're not getting like extra bonus money. People aren't tipping you. You know, you probably get benefits. I don't really know, but you probably get benefits. You're probably getting a heck of a load of taxes taken out of each check. Things like this. You might have retirement account options and some stock options and, I don't know, different sorts of benefits through your work. If it's just like a traditional 9 to 5 and you can move up in your career, but likely what's expected is you're going to get the same rate of pay. Unless you sign a different contract, you're going to get the same rate of pay every single time per hour. Versus if you have a side hustle, it's possible to work 8 hours and make zero money. Or it's possible to work 8 hours and make more than you would have made at your 9 to 5 job. But, you know, I think a lot of people, it really helps to get, you know, to a point, and that's the tip that I would want to say, is it helps to get to a point that you're able to Sorry, I lost my train of thought. But it helps to get yourself to a point where you're actually going to be able to predict. You want it to be predictable, and that's more comfortable. I think being able to predict the amount of work to put in, what type of work to put in to yield what type of result, right? So, for example, if I know that there's a specific item that sells really good on eBay or OfferUp or Amazon or wherever I'm posting, it makes sense to, strategize how I'm going to post it, when I'm going to post it. Definitely looking at your own, work that you do and repeat what works and kind of phase out maybe the things that aren't really working, but definitely try a diverse amount of tasks that could lead to a certain amount of income, right? And hopefully without too much risk, right? So for example, I mean, I'll talk about like some bad mistakes I've made with, and I'll get back to talking about Biaheza too, but I'll talk about some bad mistakes I've made, just kind of, some of it was impulsivity, some of it was, getting too excited and emotion based in things and not really researching things and going by the numbers. And I was speaking about this with a friend of mine that, he's very, gifted and educated in stock options and trading and things like this, stocks. He studies regressions, he studies, basically he studies the stock market. And he was saying, like it makes more sense to try your best to focus on the analytics. And that's going to be important. You want to get yourself to a point where you have data to work with. That's the hard part for a lot of people, because you want full projects, full campaigns that have started and finished, and then you've had a lot of tasks, maybe a variations of tasks or a diverse amount of tasks within that project or within multiple phases, or part 1, part 2, part 3, whatever you want to call it, that you're like doing, and then you're getting extra, you're getting extra information to work with on that, right? So yeah, so when it comes to Biaheza, he's really good at breaking down the strategies that he uses, what he does, and you can follow it. I would say the hardest part, in all honesty, there are two hard parts. The first hard part is finding what it is that you're going to do that's going to yield results, meaning that, you're going to get a profit, what it is that you're going to do, right? So whether that's a certain platform you're using, or using Instagram or Facebook or eBay or Shopify, or what are you using? What platform are you using? What combination of platforms are you using? And how do you know that what you're doing is potentially going to lead to profit? So you have to kind of know in your mind, and coming from numbers helps. It helps to come from numbers to see what you're going to actually expect to have happen. And if it doesn't happen the way you wanted, it's good to look back and see why. So the first thing that's hard is really choosing either like a product or whatever it is, a service, a product, maybe like an affiliate program, whatever it is that you're trying to use to get your point across, and whatever platform, the platform needs to be appropriate for what you're doing, because not everything's going to convert the same. If I'm selling, I don't know, mittens or something like that, there might be some platforms that make more sense to market on and to post on, versus, it probably isn't the best idea to make a podcast about mittens and then trying to sell mittens, that are made by, say if it's like an athletic, mitten, like Nike has like mittens for like, I don't know, gloves or mittens or whatever for like snowboarding, right? Something like that. And then, the way that you might want to try to sell these, there are certain platforms that would make more sense, right? So a podcast for selling mittens doesn't really make too much sense. Now, you can have certain platforms that you use for supplemental material. I think that helps. In the past, I've noticed that really helped for SEO, and I've mentioned that before. Like way back in the day, I don't even know how long that was, maybe 10 years ago. I used to use Google, and I would just link. I don't think Google had bought YouTube at this point yet. I can't remember, but they had Blogger, they had Google Plus, maybe they had YouTube at that point too, and and then I would have a Facebook account, and so I used to just link every single, like if I posted a YouTube video, I'd link that thing all over to all of the every single platform, and it would get views, it would get traffic, and that's another part, is you want to get traffic, because that's what's going to lead to people coming across your whatever it is that your service or your items are, so that you can actually get sales. But the second part that's really difficult is the execution part of what is going to actually get you the sale, right? So it's easy to want to build a site and build an Instagram, page, and build all these things, but it's like, if you haven't done that one step that's gonna, maybe, putting a few bucks into the marketing part of things, like Facebook marketing, or some other platform that you market on, or Google Ads, AdSense, whatever it is that you're using, you might have a little bit of trouble making money, because you're not doing the whole thing. It's almost like, if I need groceries, and I want, maybe if I want groceries from the Japanese market, it wouldn't make sense to be like, I'm hungry, I need to be fed. My plan is, I have this whole plan. I love Japanese food. I'm going to go to the Japanese market. The deli has these nice bento meals that I love, and I'll go get them. It wouldn't make sense to be like, I have my money, I went to the bank, I got my car, it has gas in it, I'm going to drive there, I'm going to get there, I'm going to put the stuff in my basket and go to the cashier and not even check out, and not even spend the money to get the food to eat it, right? It's kind of like, you do all the steps up until the last ones before the end, but the problem is, the more you put in that kind of effort, day after day, week after week, you're grinding on all this stuff, and after a while, you kind of just don't even actually get any result or any profit. And I mean, profit isn't the only result that you really want to look at. You want to look at things like traffic. You want to look at things like, what is the algorithm on whatever platform you're using? What is the algorithm picking up on? What is it that gets more views? What is it that gets more listeners? What is it that gets more viewers? What is it that gets more purchases, or more people commenting or asking you questions or subscribing? You'll notice trends, but it's hard to really know sometimes. Like when you it's really hard to know. And the mistakes I made in the past, like way in the past, was being kind of impulsive on an emotional end about things. Meaning, like when I was talking to my friend, we were saying, go with the analytics, go with the data that you have, and you get this data by grinding into these projects, and by having information to go by start to finish, right? If I never even market my stuff on Facebook or whatever it may be, but I have traffic, it's like, I don't even know if this is gonna sell, because I don't know what it looks like. There are strategies to trying to test. I think I've mentioned one of my best strategies for trying to test an item, in like, not all of the items, because there's a lot of scams out there too, and eBay is really scammy right now. But one of my best strategies before was to, post something on eBay, not the actual item, but post it and see if people even comment. Post it on Mercury, see if people comment. Post it on OfferUp, see if people are asking questions, if they even seem like they're looking at it. How many views do you get? How many watches do you get? How many likes do you get? How many comments and questions are you getting? Or is it like it's been up there for a week and 0 people have even like typed in what the wording is? You want to make sure that, the titles, the phrasing you're using, match what the people who are actually selling your product or your service, the similar competitors. You want to basically do what the other competitors are doing, but do it better, and don't copy them, like line for line, dot for dot. You don't want to copycat. You want to be original, put your own spin on things. You want to be authentic. You want to provide value, but you do want to actually do it in a way that actually gets the results. And the best way to really do this is the research end of things. But start to finish, not researching like just bits and pieces, because some things, you'll notice, oh, this gets a lot of comments, but nobody wants to buy this, but people just think it's cool and want to look at it. So if I post 100 videos of me playing with a ball of some sort or whatever the heck it may be, people love that content, but they don't want to buy the product, So things like that, you want to know the details, right? Because that's important. That is what it's going to convert into money. But you want to know all the details. It's not all about the money. There are different aspects that are important. So the traffic is important. The importance to your community is important. The value that it provides is important. And yeah, at the end of the day, you want to make money because, you're putting in the work and the effort. But the way I see it is you want to feel like you're being rewarded for providing something that people want and need, and they find it valuable. They find what you are providing to them valuable, not just buy these mittens, buy these gloves. It's like, maybe, I mean, if you don't have a community around something, it's going to be really hard. People don't like being just like sold to. I mean, I think in the 90s, it was way more popular for people to have like door-to-door salespeople coming around and like, or like telemarketers and stuff. And like people are so used to being marketed to and trying to like get sold to that it's like, if you're not giving me something that I actually need or want and you just want money, I mean, I'm not really going to be that, caring about whatever it is that salesperson is trying to promote, because I really don't give to what. And so just keeping that in mind. So going back to the mistakes that I've made, when it comes to the emotional related mistakes, I wasn't like having like an angry moment and just like went out and did a bunch of random stuff. It wasn't like that. It was more like I got really like passionate and like invested emotionally and like happy and like hyper about like the combination of having the funds that I wanted to use, and in addition to having the funds I wanted to use for something, I wanted to I had the funds I wanted to use, and in addition to having those funds, I was happy that I wanted to sell stuff, and I thought, oh, I'm gonna do this right away. So I did no research. I had nothing really to go by. I mean, I did maybe a little research. I was like, oh, is this a thing that people seem like they're buying online? And I remember doing like some quick eBay searches, and it's like, oh, I actually found this online. It looks like people are selling it. I didn't go too far past that. Like, I think maybe I looked into it maybe an hour or so, and I think I was selling like used musical instruments, some iPhones, some kind of like some little like kind of like gadgets you'd find like at a smoke shop, that kind of stuff, because I thought it was cool. I mean, that was stuff that I was interested in, and so I was like, yeah, this is cool, this looks awesome, it looks like it's selling. But I didn't do all the research. So one way to find out what's selling is to look at what sells out. Look at what's back ordered. Some things might have way too much competition, and that's not good, because then it's like you're just, it's kind of like almost like you're in a crowd of people and just waiting for like someone to call on you. It's like that's hard, versus like if it's a marketable product or a marketable, what do you call it? A marketable service that you're providing, and people aren't really, looking at it. You want to find out why. But every website almost, especially the ones for marketing or the ones where you're going to sell your stuff, where you post your actual items for sale, they have a wealth of information. I mean, just sites like eBay, Amazon, Mercury, and I guess Let's Go, OfferUp, just those alone, you can find what is good and what people want and what people like. But you don't want to go like all in on something if you're not sure. And that's what I did. I was like, I remember I spent like quite a few $100s on things. And so, I was trying to hit Black Friday. So I remember it was like early November, and I'd been planning for a couple months before that, waiting to get to a point where I had the money. So I had built up some extra money from, I don't know if I was just like selling random stuff that I owned or something along those lines. I was selling stuff that I didn't really need, just kind of cleaning up and everything. And then I used the money I made from that and kind of bought a bunch of, I think the first thing I bought were used violins for sale, off of a certain site where they were kind of like, maybe missing strings or missing like a tuning peg or missing a bridge. And then I would go and I would buy those little pieces, and then I fixed them up, and it wasn't that hard to fix. I mean, I wasn't fixing the wood, I wasn't fixing the sound, I wasn't fixing like any like actual like parts. I was just like putting the little pieces back on it and everything, and they were in good condition. They weren't like dented and broken. Some of them had cases. If they didn't, maybe I'd get a case. But I know nothing really about violins. I mean, I kind of do now because I learned in the process. But the reason why I liked them is because they're small. They're small, they're beautiful, and they can have value to them. The issue is, while they're small and they have value, not everybody's trying to play violin. That's not the most popular instrument. I did have decent luck selling them on OfferUp. And I think when I lived near the border of Mexico, there was something about that area where I stayed that it was so much easier to sell stuff on OfferUp. I sold a bunch of iPhones. I sold all those violins. But I sold it all mostly through OfferUp. And people could come, they could look at it. Some things I had better luck with were used, but very well working, Bluetooth speakers. Those sold really well. Especially if you have like the little, how they usually come with a little zipper bag or something, and like the main box that it came in and the charger. And if they're cleaned up and they're not like missing and dings and all these scratches and stuff. And I would really recommend when you buy stuff, like usually for me, my own rule of thumb, if I buy something over like $30-$40, I usually keep the original packaging, and I usually try to keep it in really good condition. And usually within a year or so, I go through a lot of my things, because I don't buy a whole lot of stuff anymore. But when I did, I would go through a lot of my electronics, because, a lot of electronics, once they're too old, nobody wants them because it's outdated technology, right? So Bluetooth, like say those classic headphones from back in the day that would just like go over the top of your head with the little like fuzz, like, pads, the foam pads that would go on your ears, and you would plug it in. Those are such old school little headphones, now, you have like AirPods and EarPods and all these kind of like Bluetooth wireless things that are, way more, attractive to people. Even if it's a cheap, crappy brand, it might be more attractive to somebody than those old, like 1980s, like, or like Walkman and things like that. But I mean, you never know. Some things make a comeback. But yeah, I mean, it's really going to be important to do the research, guys, and to know what you're doing and not fall into those mistakes that I've fallen into in the past of being like on this emotional end of like, I have money, let me buy all this stuff because I'm so excited. I'm going to make all this money back. And like another thing, I wasn't tracking how much money I was making. I was just like, it's going to be Black Friday. I'm going to sell all this stuff by Black Friday. And a lot of it didn't even arrive by Black Friday. And I was having it shipped up to LA, and I was staying by the border near like Mexico, and I was just like, that's like a 2.5 hour drive without even really any traffic, and there's always traffic. So that's a really long drive just to go get stuff. And then, so if you factor in the gas and the wait times and all that stuff, and I didn't really track if I was making a profit, because it took so long to sell those things over like quite a few months. Thinking I was going to sell it all like right around Thanksgiving weekend, and nobody was biting. Nobody cared. Nobody wanted it. And eventually people wanted it. Eventually, some reason I started getting a lot of, buyers for the products, but I never really put much more energy into searching as to why certain things sold, why they didn't sell, certain brands of like the violins, the companies that make them, different sort of things like that. Like, there's information that it helps to have. There's stuff that it helps to know. It helps to know certain stuff about what you're selling. I think it helps to be an expert, but it also helps to not be emotionally involved in something. So one thing that I've noticed that really helps is look around at what you know and what you have and what your interests are. I don't think I went wrong on that. I think where I went wrong was just buying any old thing, trying to resell it. I think that it was smart to think about, the size, the shipping. So I like instruments, but a lot of times instruments are big. Drums are big. Even the electric, like small, like compact ones that have maybe like the 4 or 6 pads on it, and it's like, like maybe like 1 foot by 2 feet or something like that, and it's like, it's still small, but it's a little bit heavy. It's electronic. Like there's a lot that you have to deal with, and if it doesn't work and it's electronic, if you don't know how to fix it, I mean, and they'll, might not sell anyways. Guitars are gigantic. Some other instruments, like flutes, I thought they'd be easier to sell. Like the ones with the tarnished, like metals and stuff, you can like clean them up, make sure they work, and they'll, it'll usually, work out pretty good. I think I got a shamisen. I tried to sell that, and I think I spent like over 100 on that. It shipped from like Japan. It took like a month to get there, and it was nice, but it's like it didn't have the skin on it, and I thought, oh, it's gonna be easier to resell this to someone who knows how to put the skin on it, the animal skin, and I can put on the strings. Like, I kind of know about shamisens because I built one before. but it's like, it's not really a popular instrument. Well, it is. So let me put it this way. A shamisen is a beautiful, popular, traditional instrument. But it's not very commonly known in like mainstream American culture, and not many people are trying to learn how to play it or use it or buy it or have it for over $100. And I don't know how much the shipping is either. The good thing about the shamisen though is that it comes apart. So the body part, the do and the, you know, the neck part, it comes apart into two different pieces. And so even though it's wood and it looks pretty long, it actually can become like a very compact shipment. And so different things like that. One idea that seems to work in categories that, you know, if you can make sure it's a profitable niche, a marketable product or marketable, you know, service, things that you're fixing, right? So buy something broken, fix it, resell it for a better price. I've seen this work good with MacBooks, with iPhones. The problem is with Apple products is there's a lot of scamming going on. So usually what I've found that works, that I would really recommend, would be recording yourself opening the product from you know, an unopened box. Like, get a tripod, put your camera there, or set up your camera before you even open the broken one that you purchased. Test it out and everything on camera from start to finish in one smooth clip, without any breaks, without any you know, so that nobody can say, oh, you switched it out for another one. You know, you film yourself opening it so you don't get scammed. Because people will say, oh, this is a fully working iPhone, it only needs a screen. And then you find out, oh, it's iCloud locked. Oh, the person didn't actually pay the bill. So, you know, like, you can't even really, like, use it as a new user. Like, you know, and maybe it has other defects to it. Maybe the battery is, like, out and needs another battery or something. And it's like, people won't even tell you this stuff. And, you know, it's something that you can't really prove once you've already opened it. There's no way that they can prove that they sent you a defective one or a fully working one, and there's no way that you can prove that it was broken or wasn't, you know, meeting the criteria that it said it would when you purchased it, unless you really have that video footage. So I would say, you know, how much money are you willing to lose? If you bought something for like $8 or $3 or whatever, it's one thing. If you bought something for like $70-$80, that might be a large chunk of change to lose if you're trying to flip that from 70 to like $150, and then you just lose out on all your money because you can't even sell it for 70 now, and you're not even going to get a refund on the 70, and you're going to, you know, maybe it won't even sell for $20. And so it's like, damn, I paid $70 for something that I can't even sell for 20. You know, that's a pain, and it happens. There's so many scamming people out there, especially now. So yeah, I definitely recommend, when you purchase something, if you're going to resell it in some way, if you have to open it, film yourself opening the product in case you have to return it or in case you have to request a refund, because that backs you up. It might be a pain, but trust me, I mean, people lie so much, especially if you're selling Apple products. It's like, it's a nightmare out there, guys. I'm telling you, because you can't test it in person unless you're using like OfferUp or something where you're seeing the person. And right now with the distancing and everything and quarantine, I mean, who are you really seeing, in all honesty? And you don't really want to be risking it going out and like meeting random strangers all over the place just to like make a buck. I understand some people have to do that, you know, for their own livelihood, but if you don't have to do it, you know, if it's just for fun or like whatever, you know, maybe don't risk it right now. But yeah, that's one thing. One of many things. And then also when you're selling something, if it's pricey too, record it. Again, record yourself, review the product, on the video, showing all the working aspects of things, like showing that, okay, say if it's an iPhone, that it holds a charge when you plug it in, that the charger that you're selling it with works, there's no like frayed cables or, glitchy parts to it, that all the buttons work, the volume off on, the Wi-Fi connects, that you're not connected to, Bluetooth anymore, that that you're not connected to iCloud anymore, that the SIM card tray works, that the battery shows that it's, having a lot of juice in it. It's not like a dead battery, completely dead, as in you can't even recharge it. Show yourself reviewing it, and then, boxing it up with the shipping label from start to finish. So the whole review, and then boxing it up to ship, and putting the shipping label information on there, so that you have a whole video clip of yourself packaging something that fully worked in one clip, and you want to make sure the phone is in the view of the camera the whole time. I mean, I know this might sound obsessive, but say you're selling 3 iPhones for $300 each, and each of those get a scam on them, people saying, I want a refund, that's $900. It's $900 right there that you miss out on. And say if it's something harder to sell than an iPhone, you might not get another buyer. And so you might have a product that you can't resell, that, is worth a lot of money that you can't resell, basically. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well. And so these are just tips when it comes to, the strategies you might use. I would definitely recommend checking out Biaheza's newest projects he's doing with the side hustles, starting from scratch. Those are very informative videos. He actually has videos where he's looking at stocks and things, and trading, day trading. He has some with using trading bots, learning to use them, the whole setup he needs with like the computers and everything. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? Different things like that. And he shows like legit, like if he loses or makes money, he shows you the process, and it takes a lot of patience. It's different too. I mean, if you're like me or the average Joe, we're not maybe all like Biaheza, who might have a lot of capital to invest in different sorts of major projects. So that's one thing to mention too, is that sometimes it's a slower process. If you're starting with like $20, it's going to take a longer time to build that profit margin that you want over time, so that like say if you're reselling, I just like to use the iPhone example. Say if you're buying and reselling iPhones, and all you have to do is just trade out the screen, a broken screen, for a working, screen that's in good condition, and now you're buying them cheap and you're selling them for a lot of money. Say if that was what you were doing, if you only have enough for one phone, that is going to take a while, because, you have to wait for the people to bid, or for the buyers to come through, for you to actually fix it, for you to get the items to fix things. Post it, you're going to have to wait for the bidders, you're going to have to wait for the sales, you're going to have to wait for the marketing campaigns for people to actually like make their purchase, and then however long it takes for the shipping or PayPal to actually like pay out, which can take like 20 days sometimes or more. So if you're waiting, if you're brand new to things and you're waiting like almost 20 days just to get 20, maybe 25 or something days, counting like the shipping time and all this, and that's like if you're quick and a very new beginner, 20 days to wait for like the first profit, and then you have to use that profit to reinvest it back into, the project that you're doing. I mean, that takes a lot of time. That's already a month. If you have monthly like subscription fees to like a Shopify store, or like a website or something like that, you're paying like those fees every month. 25-ish days is nearly almost a whole month, and so you've made one sale in 1 month. is you want the sales to be able to cover all your expenses, and so you're not losing money every month before you start making money. But if you don't have the capital to invest, it's going to be really difficult to even get the ball rolling. So I don't know. It's up to people. It's up to people's own discretion if they want to use their own income or their own money or their own savings or their own retirement, bit of money, take out a loan on it or something, or like take out another loan or whatever. But I do think that Biaheza's strategies of getting the money first from having no money, and then getting the money, and then using that money in your projects, and then recycling that money back into the projects, and that's really getting an absolute profit, because you're not using money that you already had that you could have been using for something else. But there's really no actual wrong way of doing things. But I wouldn't say use your whole rent check to go and try and flip iPhones or something, and then like if it doesn't sell right away, or you're getting a bunch of scams, or like people are like, oh, I want a refund, it wasn't right, and now you have some like fraudulent like report open with like eBay or something, and you have to kind of like wait that out. It's like sometimes it's not quick. There are barriers that come up. So it's good to keep those in mind. I really just like how Biaheza has an honest perspective. I was honestly a bit skeptical of him when I first started watching his stuff, because I was like, yeah, most, not every, but most and many of those YouTube guru types, and he's not one of those, but there are these kind of like drop shipping guru type people that basically they're making money off the course that teaches you how to make courses and they're not really making money off of their drop shipping. They seem like they have strategies, and they show you how to build the Shopify store, and they're like, this is a winning product that I'm selling, and I made $1 million. Another thing they don't always mention is how much is profit, right? How much of what they're making is profit. You can make $1 million, but say I already spent $1 million. If I spent $1 million on, products to sell, and then I can show that my Shopify store made $1 million when I resold those back for the same price, I mean, that's not profit, right? You want to know what the profit is. So usually what people do is they'll show you how much they made. But that number isn't necessarily what you need to know. You need to know how much did they spend first, how much did they invest, and compare that to how much they made and how many expenses they have. So Biaheza, what I like about him is that he breaks it down. He's like, okay, I paid this much for the shipping and paid this much for the, he doesn't maybe go as far as like the gasoline, but it's like, I paid this much for the shipping, I paid this much for the product, they paid this much for the ad, I paid this much to, get a second ad out, I paid this much to get, somebody on Fiverr to like build, build my website, I paid this much to somebody on Fiverr to, do the market research, I'm just making examples, but like things like that. Like he factors in all of those numbers, and then he shows you the actual profit too. And sometimes, there might not be a profit. Most of the time there is a big profit. And he has some that he seems to just do for fun, like trying to get to $1 million, or else he's going to shave his head and things like that. And things like that, it's like he makes it fun. And on Graham Stephan's podcast, the Iced Coffee Hour, Biaheza ended up making a they screenshotted him kind of showing his portfolio, his Robinhood account stocks, and his Shopify and his YouTube channel, the analytics and all this kind of stuff. Like, you can see the numbers. He showed the numbers, and that's what I like, is that he's so transparent and he shows what he invests, how he invests. Of course, I understand that people don't put out there what their winning product is. That makes sense, but he makes a full he'll make a full series on an example of something that sells really good, or that, converts really good. And so, like, for example, he made an Instagram page that was it was a theme page about skating, and he kind of mentioned that, that's not the best, maybe market, to try to like make a theme page, but he shows you how he got the subscribers or the followers. He shows you, and you can see the proof on the sites. And then he showed that there were all these people duplicating exactly, even to the logo of his projects. And it's like, he purposely made it something that he was interested in, that he knows about, just so he can show, yes, you can get followers, yes, you can, get a profit out of this, even from something that's not even like a very good market. And so I definitely recommend checking out Biaheza. I hope the tips and ideas kind of in this recording were helpful. Don't forget to, try and subscribe, and, if you like this stuff, let me know. Try and reach out to me if you can. gameandcompute@gmail.com if you need to reach me. If you have questions, if you have ideas of what you want to hear about, I'm just putting the tips out there for people who may have an interest. And that's it for now. So thanks for listening, and stay tuned for some more.